how has it been? How has been like last 2 3 years with pandemic holding a lot of social programs, and then have you changed the vision? So let's start from the beginning itself. Um, how HCL Foundation was conceptualized, the idea behind the foundation, and maybe then you can go on and talk about the flagship programs and initiatives of the foundation. Over to you, Nidhi.
Right. So HCL Foundation, as we all know, is the CSR arm of HCL Technologies. And in terms of its inception, it was mainly an employee-led initiative way back in 2010. I would say they began to come together, working for their immediate neighborhood communities as well as collecting funds, and then it was formally registered as a trust in 2011 as HCL Foundation. But I would just say that there's a legacy of HCL employees, which is going to be, I guess, around 180,000, 90,000 touching figure now. But right from the beginning, there has always been a legacy of volunteerism. And HCL Foundation, earlier it was known as HCL Technologies Foundation and later HCL Foundation, has always been that platform where they came and were able to ideate and give back in several ways. In 2014-15, our first rural development program was conceptualized. Before I go there, I think this whole employee-led initiative took of a campaign which we call as Power of One. And there we've been kind of very fortunate where employees have been voluntarily contributing rupee 1 from their payroll per day. And therefore it is called, power of one. But more than that, it's the power of one individual. What is it that they can give back in terms of time?
What do you think your 1 rupee can do? What is the power of one? Let us show you how HCL employees are impacting community welfare with the power of one. Lata Saini works at HCL as a support staff. She is a single mother and lives with her daughter Anshu, who is a bright kid and scored 10 CGPA in her school. Like other kids of her age, Anshu has a dream.
I wanted to study more and become a banker.
But Lata had no means to support her education until one day when she came to know about an initiative called
Power of One.
Power of One initiative is a voluntary program where HCL employees commit to donate 1 rupee from their salary every day. This fund collectively helps meritorious kids from low-income families by providing long-term scholarships to achieve their dream. These beneficiaries include children of HCL support staff and from HCL Foundation project areas and are called My Scholars. Lata filled the form and Anshu got the scholarship. Similar is the story of this boy.
मेरा नाम आमिनुर मियां है और मैं एथलीट बनना चाहता हूँ.
Aminur always had a great potential for athletics and now he also has the means to help him excel at it despite his father's weak financial background. All thanks to the sports scholarship he received from HCL. Today there are many kids who have managed to embrace new possibilities because of that 1 rupee, $1 and £1 donated by HCL employees across the world. And that is
So there has been, I would say, a beautiful contribution by employees in terms of mentoring, in terms of situation assessment, providing technical know-how, tech support, cleaning and afforestation and whatever they kind of like, but the power of one individual to kind of change things around. We recently had a rewards and recognition ceremony for this year. And that's an annual feature which we kind of do for our employees. Our employees have been, courageous enough HCL's employees have been courageous enough to kind of do massive food distribution drives during the pandemic. ensuring that there are regular visits to the community. So it's almost a 10-year-old movement now, which has become quite mature. So Power of One happens to be that first formal program, which was more, I would say, internal facing and internal corporate social responsibility agenda of employees themselves. And then in 2014-15, our founder, chairperson, Mr. Shiv Nadar, he himself, he came up with this whole concept of a rural development program, which he wanted to pick up a geography in UP, because UP happens to be the birthplace for HCL, and do a comprehensive rural development program. And later on, that program was named Samuday. This was also conceptualized before the CSR law came, and some portion of funds had begun to be allocated. But then simultaneously, the law also came and funding became available. More funding became available, I would say. And Samuday, since then, has been working tirelessly in. It started with one block called Kachona and then expanded to 3 blocks in Hardoi district. And then there is a plan to cover the entire district in future. But there is a team of more than 400 people which has been working tirelessly in that geography. And the latest impact indicators clearly suggest that this program has been very instrumental in changing the socio-demographic indicators, including tough ones. For example, the rate of the institutional delivery rate, or the general health and well-being. So maternal and child health has always been a focus. Agriculture is a big focus. Then livelihoods is another area where some of the education. So adult literacy indicators have completely shifted. The farmers cooperatives are strong enough to be on their own, and they are generating their own livelihoods and income. So I think it's kind of phase one is over, and now the phase two is getting deeper in the same job.
It started as a employee-led initiative, then it became a foundation, and now it's like a professionally run non-profit organization, which is also collaborating with, I suppose, government organizations, and then implementing social programs at the grassroots. And HCL Samudaya is one like the larger initiative wherein you're looking at maternal various initiatives at the grassroots. You
Yeah, it
mentioned
has four verticals. So I would say it is one of our flagship programs, and then we have other flagship programs. HCL Grant, you're aware of, is another rural development. So if I look at our flagship programs, we have two rural development initiatives. One is direct implementation, which is Samuday, and the other is HCL Grant, where we look for award-winning models, basically, of rural development, and they could be anywhere in India. We're running edition 7 of HCL Grant, and recently we have concluded the sub-jury stage. We will be hitting the jury stage around March, and we'll be announcing the recipients of this year. But HCL Grant, I would say, is more of way beyond just giving grants. I mean, it's actually institutionalizing the whole space of corporate social responsibility, has a very high emphasis on governance, program impact indicators. It has become like an institution by itself, where there is movement, and subject matter experts visit, do a thorough due diligence, and we've seen the participation from NGOs really going up. I mean, there have been more than 23,000 plus unique registrations over 7 editions. There are 4 compendiums, volumes that we have come up with, acknowledging the work of the of the cases which reach the sub-jury stage. And we are at it, and then there are a series of symposiums which are done not only to kind of invite applications, but actually to discuss the sectoral issues, the local concerns, as well as handhold the non-government organizations in terms of strengthening their governance on various aspects. Then the third program also got simultaneously added, which is basically our concern about the immediate neighborhoods of where HCL has had a presence, and which is basically addressing the urban poverty. and that is where we work on breaking the cycle of urban poverty. And this is called as HCL Uday. We named it on purpose Uday because the disparity that you see between the life of the elite and the life of people who live, especially the migrant population. The program is reaching out to 400,000 people in the locations where HCL has a presence. And this is a partner based convergence model where we've signed formal MOUs with the state. And it is done very transparently in a space where vigilance is done not only by HCL Foundation but also the key stakeholders. It could be the urban.
Tell me more about the intervention. Like, what is the model actually? How we can go out there, eliminate urban poverty, which is because the gap is widening and this urban poverty levels are going way beyond, and the estimates say that it will even go beyond the poverty in the rural in the coming days.
Yeah. It's already way beyond because Panchayati Raj system, thanks to the entire movement that we had, at least the resources have begun to be allocated, and shelter and food is not a big issue in the rural areas as much. And in the urban spaces, they're struggling with these two fundamentals. So it's beyond. I mean, the poverty is abject poverty. It's not like the regular poverty situation. So we don't take guarantee of eliminating all the urban poverty, but the numbers with whom we are working in these cities, be it Bangalore, Chennai, Madurai, Gautam Budh Nagar district, Lucknow, Nagpur, these are basically places where HCL has a presence. So what we do is that we do a situation assessment, a fact sheet based assessment with the local stakeholders, say municipal commissioners, district administrations, police, and so on. And we kind of do a very consultative process. And this program is also in the sense that 4 years old now. And within that, it has shown significant shift on the education indicators. So again, the verticals are education, health, skill development, and livelihood. These are the predominant, and of course, environment is another big vertical. But what we do is we pick up communities which are highly underprivileged, slum communities mainly, which are within the districts where HCL has a presence, I mean the cities mainly. And then we pick up few of those, not all, depending upon the size of the business also in that particular district. So there has to be, because then there is a whole lot of employee engagement that also happens, and we have HCL Foundation team, plus we have a network of over close to 200 partners now, which is through whom HCL Uday is implemented. While Samudaya is more of a direct implementation model with our own team, though there also we have few partnerships now coming up. But then Uday is very clear on its model that we don't want to kind of create.
Give me an example or a story from HCL Uday wherein some intervention wherein some impact has happened in the recent times from any location.
So maybe if you want a very recent story, I'll give you, this entire problem of children working in various dhabas and living on streets is a very common kind of an issue, begging on the streets and all. So since we work very closely in Tamil Nadu with police, we thought that why not try a similar thing in UP and in Gautam Budh Nagar, because Gautam Budh Nagar happens to be that kind of a district where you will see an influx of more migrants because of the upcoming airport also. But even then it has been it is still 25% economy giving, like the economic dividends come from Gautam Budh Nagar for UP. So it's the economic capital of Uttar Pradesh, if not the country so far. Soon it may become that also. But then the moment we have such kind of metropolises coming up, we also have a higher number of people reeling in urban poverty because it invites migrants. So the numbers we were seeing on roads, we saw increasing of these children, and that's when we approached the local police. And Noida also is a police commissionerate now, and we received full support from them. And the police commissioner himself became extremely invested in the thought process, and then we co-created a program called Nanhe Parinde. where we have like a very, and then we have our NGO partner Chetna in that intervention. I'm just giving you one example. I mean, we have several of those under the edges of Uday, where we signed this MOU last year, and then last year so we always engage in a formal relationship with stakeholders where the responsibilities are clearly defined. And in this case, police has provided surveillance support, also nigrani as we call it. All of that is there, and their logo is also on the van, and so there is this whole very creative patshala which moves from one place to another, and we have 4 of such now running here in Gautam Buddha Nagar. So children who work on the dhabas, children who work on various, they come here, and there is a bridge education module. And once they go through that bridge education module, not only just reading, writing, arithmetic, but also sports, also art, culture, and so on, then we start mainstreaming them. So this November 14th, Siddharth can send you some press releases around that. There was a whole lot of, we were able to have 800 children felicitated who have been mainstreamed just because of this initiative, and it's very latest.
Do they work? Do they still work? Continue to work where they used to work, and then they participate in this bridge lessons, and then are going to school, or is it like they're going to school only?
So they continue because they still need remedial, they still need tuitions, they still have that relationship with the mentors. So it continues, and similarly we have gurukuls all over.
By continue, my friend, are they still employed? Are they still working at the dhabas or wherever they were employed earlier? No.
I would say 60% of them have moved out, and parents have shown interest. But COVID was a difficult time again, where some of them kind of had to. But when they're mainstream, they're actually going to the daily school. It was just that they didn't know how to enter the school space because, they're kind of so highly vulnerable category, and need a very high measure of child protection. But who better could partner with us than police? So what we do is we evaluate the problem, and then we find the right stakeholder, right partner for that. Similarly, we have this entire program in Noida. If you are interested, I'm not giving you so many examples from other geographies because you may want to visit one of these days and evaluate for yourself. The other thing is this entire issue of family planning and reproductive health amongst the slum dwellers. So we've been able to ensure that young couples are counseled and all eligible couples are counseled, and there is they are able to make choices around their family expansion, so, and use modern methods of contraception. And there's a massive I would say success out there where we've been able to, and I can share the numbers with you, but then that's another highly impactful initiative. But then we have quite a few. So the model is, yes, within health, so we don't need every time to do everything, because at times we see that school development program is another thing. Then we have upgraded the primary healthcare centers. We have kind of sports is another big I would say transformational strategy that we use with young people there, because their entire right to play, because of living in spaces which don't provide enough opportunities. So there's this entire program called Sports for Change, and I'll send you a couple of videos. Maybe I'll send a deck to back to Siddharth, and he can share with you. And these are all videos which describe how these programs are basically, how all these initiatives under the banner of Uday.
So how many years you have spent at the foundation? It's been quite some time now. No?
This is 7th year.
7th year. So what would be the most favorite program of yours that you think has made most impact, and you would want to scale it up, and like probably also share the model with other organizations that this intervention works and it has shown some good, awesome results as an individual if you look at it at the foundation?
So I think all our initiatives are extremely thoughtful, and they are making, I mean, there's nothing which I will, discount.
And talk about
each team is putting, and all these programs are so well thought of. They have such a beautiful impact. There's nothing where one has like, because if we do think like that, then obviously we don't do that. We take full ownership. But if we could replicate something countrywide, would be our strengthening of CBOs, which many people are doing it, but then the know-how of actually uh, how do you really, so across our I mean, any of you pick up any Samuday, Uday, Harit is our entire environmental initiative that we have recently launched in the environment space. I think our power to be able to aggregate community, empower them, and to be able to stand for themselves is extremely beautiful. And that's something which must be replicated, because it's at the end of the day the collectives and the agency of the citizens that brings about sustainable change. But then that needs long-term commitment, that needs higher level of field engagement, that needs very positive partnerships on ground. And the other thing I would say is the larger chunk of highly vulnerable children that we work with, who could be living in crime affected areas and who could be living in extreme abject poverty, because there is this window of opportunity with them. Although I'm not saying that we should not be working with elderly and all, we should continue to. But then I think as a mission, one should work towards zero tolerance of our young, uh, having to live in those conditions. And that as an appeal, I would say to anybody who's working in development space, that.
So, your program which focuses on these young children?
Oh yeah, we do have ECCD interventions across our flagship initiatives. Harit, of course, is more on environmental gain, but we have beautiful programs, across. I would say, be it under rural development or under urban development initiatives. We do work with young children in holistic ways. We call it early childhood education and development. Then, of course, our gurukuls, which are running inside the slums, all the school educational initiatives that we are undertaking. I would say the work with farmers has also been extremely impressive in Samudai as well as in Grant, where we've been able to, uh, you know, empower them to be able to take their own decisions around their crop patterns and everything. And also our health initiatives are extremely impactful. So there's nothing which I'll kind of say.
I understand that this is
Whatever can be
all
taken up
those
by any.
programs protect by your babies, and you, of course, you cannot choose pick one from there.
There's a
It's
big
like
team behind it, honestly.
right.
There were people even before I came into the system, and each team member is who they. It's just a team of teams, as we call it, and each one of them is leading. So at times it becomes very difficult to aggregate at foundation level. Also, when we do our own reports, because there's so much passion behind. So I will give full credit to each member of the large team out there. I think more than 500 people, and plus 200 odd partners through whom we have close to 2,000 people working in. So it's everybody's job, yeah.
Yeah, talking of teams, so many individuals who are directly associated with or say on board with foundation, and then 200 odd organizations that are working with you. So there is also a need, you'll agree, to build capacities of these individuals who are in this domain, your partners, your partner NGOs, the teams that in there. So is there any element or any program which is focused only on building capacities of individuals?
So what we've done is, since we ourselves were generating so much knowledge, and there was always need for knowledge, so it's a two-way process. So we have something known as HCL Foundation Academy, which is HCL Foundation's initiative under of course, capacity building as such is a regular part of each initiative, which is, depending on the needs, the respective managers decide what is it that they want, and all of that is a continuous process. There's a lot of cross fertilization across teams also. Also, we are very fortunate to be hosted by HCL as a brand, I would say. But we are with HCL, we are directly working under the mentorship of the chairperson, Mrs. Roshni Nadar Malhotra, and she herself is quite a dynamic um, I would call her not a she is a philanthropist, but she more than that, she is a development professional herself. So there's a lot of mentorship, clarity in decision making, resources and support that we have, and there's a lot of affection within the HCL group that foundation enjoys. So I think that itself keeps the motivation of the team very, very high. So that's one bit of it. So what I'm trying to say is that when CSR teams are seen as central in such a big brand, obviously there is a much higher level of zeal to do something more. But then, in terms of professional capacity building series, we have the HCL Foundation Academy, through which we are doing multiple courses. CSR and its applied aspects is one such example which is going on. But then there are other pieces, and then we are doing like something on leadership, we are doing something on adolescent reproductive health, on mental health, and we have higher level partnerships with IIMs and ISDMs, and so there are different in fact, I'm going to take the team next week itself for a complete reboot post pandemic through some of the leadership techniques, such that each one of them is able to re-realize themselves, and because we do heavy partner engagement as well, and then we keep kind of, I would say, tweaking such modules for the needs of various teams, and then they feel themselves. And partner level, of course, one big thing that we keep doing is the training on governance aspects, budget management, audits, and so on. And so it's a continuous process at HCL Foundation.
Tell me about the challenges, primarily from the partnerships point of view. Like we are short of time, but let's make it last but not the least. Like the challenges that you have faced, and then followed by a message that you would have for young professionals in this domain.
Well, when you get out to do something, there'll be challenges. Nothing, especially development sector. The only reason we are here is because others couldn't do it. So it's not easy. I mean, one has to give more. It cannot be 9 to 5 job. It is a 24/7 kind of attention-seeking, highly professional space. One needs to have excellent communication skills, at the same time data analysis skills, at the same time comprehension, ability to understand, resolve, work with variety of stakeholders, and has to weave through, I would say, in most possible humble ways, because everybody has their charters, and when you want to create real convergence, to make people envision that common goal is the starting point. So and one, my take on challenges is that when you are clear about what is it that you want to achieve, and when you are able to bring the like-minded stakeholders and non-like-minded stakeholders on a common table, things happen. They happen, they take time, but they happen.
So the non-like people become
exactly, and money is not the answer to everything. It is not always funding. India, I think we are doing well in terms of various departments so well. At times, it is just the technique of doing it. So, if people are thinking they'll put money behind it and so many XYZ people, it may not result in success, the success that we are looking at. So think about money, but think about it later. Think about what is it that we want to resolve. Think about the how part of it, and then think about don't start the other way around. That's one. And the second is, I think solidarity and respect are critical to, because all of us want nation building. Everybody wants nation building, but how will we do it together is when we respect the approaches that each one is using, and we are able to appreciate and learn from them. Young professionals, I would just say, join this space, join this sector. It's very exciting. It is difficult, but it is exciting in the form that it gives you a whole lot of travel opportunities. You are able to interact with our own communities, indigenous communities across the country. And the most important charm of this sector is that it's a very equal space. So keep working.
Thank you so much. It's a very equal space indeed. Yes, we have been in this space for quite some time now, since 2009, since we started. What keeps us in this space is an opportunity to interact with the CEOs of foundations, CEOs at corporate level, as well as the communities at the grassroots, and interact with them and see how the social programs have been working. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation.